Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on with Codominance by Curlystar09, and we are reading chapters 23 and 24 today. Chapter 23, First Date. Bakugou and Kirishima stood outside of Aizawa's house half an hour before 6 that evening. Bakugou was slightly distracted by the fact that his partner was wearing a black suit and a red dress shirt with a black tie. His shirt looked like it would tear apart with any sudden movement, and the way his hair was tied up in a ponytail made his breath hitch. Bakugou was wearing a dark green suit with a light orange shirt with no tie. Kirishima was holding Akio, who kept pulling at his tie as they waited for someone to open the door. "Pebble, please stop playing with that," Kirishima told him, trying to move Akio's hand away from his tie. Bakugou chuckled. "And you ask why I don't like wearing ties." "You told me to dress up, so I did," Kirishima told him with a groan as Akio let out an excited shriek and pulled once more at the tie. "Come here, gremlin," Bakugou said as he reached over for him. Akio was still holding on to Kirishima's tie. Bakugou made sure he let go before he pulled any more. "I know your dad is fun to annoy, but now is not the time." Kirishima pouted. "And here I thought you were coming to my rescue because you cared about me." Bakugou laughed, but before either of them could say something, the door opened. "Hi, guys," Eri greeted them, the excitement clear in her voice. "Hey, Shrimp," Bakugou greeted her. "Thanks for babysitting, Eri. You are amazing," Kirishima added. "You may not say that once you hear what I'm charging you," Eri joked as she stepped aside so they could come into the house. "Where's Aizawa? Also, Mike around?" Kirishima asked, trying to spot their former senseis inside. "Dad was on a phone call. He should be done soon. Papa had a meeting at the radio station," Eri told them as she led them into the living room. "All right," Bakugou said, handing Akio over to Eri, who went happily, reaching for Eri's horn. "Take care of the gremlin. The diaper bag has everything you need. He also brought his fat gum plush. Can't go anywhere without it recently." "Yes, sir," Eri told him with a mock salute and a smile. "Call us if you need anything," Kirishima told her as he put the diaper bag and plush on the coffee table. "So, can I call you if I need a pizza?" Eri tried her luck, smiling at them brightly. "You know what he means, shorty," Bakugou told her with an eye roll, but with a small smile on his face. He had taught her well, at least that was clear. "Can't blame me for trying," Eri said with a shrug. "So, what are you two doing tonight?" "No clue. He won't tell me," Kirishima complained, gesturing towards Bakugou. "It's a surprise. I told you that," Bakugou reminded him for the 100th time. "That doesn't sound like a good idea," Aizawa said as he walked into the room. "Shut it, old man," Bakugou grumbled. "Watch it, or you won't have a babysitter," Aizawa countered, without skipping a beat. "Dad, I'm the babysitter, not you," Eri said with a huff. "I get to decide if they get a babysitter or not." "And we really appreciate it, Eri," Kirishima chimed in before anyone else could say anything as he pulled at Bakugou's arm for them to leave. "We'll be back around 11, Bakugou said as he started taking a couple of steps forward to kiss Akio's cheek. "Okay," Eri said. "We will see you then." "Oi, what do you do if someone tries to kidnap the kid?" Bakugou asked, pointing at Eri with a raised eyebrow. "Reverse them out of existence," Eri responded without missing a beat, a serious look on her face. "No, you don't," Aizawa told her with a glare between her and Bakugou. "It was a joke, Dad," Eri told him, but mouthed, "I got it covered," at them when Aizawa wasn't looking at her. Kirishima let out a laugh, giving Akio a quick kiss goodbye. "All right, we will let you know if we run late or something." Get out of my house already, Aizawa told them, but walked them to the front door while Eri stayed behind with Akio. Thanks for letting her babysit, Kirishima told him as they stepped outside. She was very excited to do it. Hard to say no to her, Aizawa told them with a shrug before waving them off. Good to know, Bakugou mumbled. Don't push your luck, problem child, Aizawa said in his teacher voice. We will be back soon, Kirishima told him as they waved goodbye at their former teacher. Have fun on your date, Aizawa added before closing the door. They were halfway back to the car when it hit them. Did you tell him that we're together now? Kirishima asked Bakugou as he turned back to look at the door. No, I didn't tell him, Bakugou tells him before they both fall quiet for a couple of seconds. I have not been this terrified of Aizawa in years, Kirishima whispered, followed by a small chuckle. Let's get the fuck out of here before he brings out that scarf or some shit. Bakugou grabs Kirishima's hand to pull him along towards the car. He had big plans for the night after all. Time passes. The restaurant they went to was fancier, way fancier than what Kirishima was used to, located on the top floor of one of the tallest buildings in the city. He stood next to Bakugou as he talked to the hostess, feeling a bit out of place. He couldn't help but wonder how expensive this would all be. Maybe he could offer to pay for half of the meal? Before he could voice anything, the hostess took them towards the back of the restaurant, passing a lot of empty tables before she opened a sliding door, giving them a bow before leaving, closing the door behind her once they walked inside. The door led to a private area with large windows that had an amazing view of the city as the sun set on the horizon. A table for two in the middle, and Kirishima knew that the space was definitely usually used for bigger parties. The table had a simple setup, a white tablecloth with 2 settings for them already arranged. 2 lit candles illuminated the table space, and the rest of the room was dimly lit. Bakugou offered his hand to Kirishima, a smug smile on his face. Shall we? Kirishima took his hand, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. How much is this costing you, Katz? Not even close to what you deserve, Bakugou answered, lifting their joined hands to kiss the back of Kirishima's hand. Are you going soft on me, Blasty? Kirishima teased, ignoring the blush that spread on his cheeks. For you, always red, Bakugou said as he led his partner towards their table. They sat down, facing each other, but wasted no time reaching for each other's hand. This is really nice, Kirishima commented. Nice to finally have some actual time alone, Bakugou said with a sigh full of relief. Is that why you got the private room? Exactly, the blonde grinned. So why did we have to get dressed up if no one was around? Kirishima asked with a laugh. Sorry for wanting to see my partner all dressed up in a suit, Bakugou said with a shrug. Ah, so it was part of your plan, Kirishima hummed. Can you fucking blame me? Bakugou grinned. Not really, since I like seeing you dressed up as well, Kirishima answered with a wink, squeezing Bakugou's hand. Bakugou let out a laugh before asking, What are we supposed to do here again? It's our first date. You're supposed to get to know me, Kirishima tells him with a teasing eye roll. I don't think there's anything I don't know about you, Bakugou snorted as his thumb rubbed a circle on Kirishima's hand. That confident? That is very manly, the redhead retorted, but I think I still have a couple of secrets. You're horrible at secrets. Am not. Give me an example of when you were able to keep a secret then. You didn't know I was in love with you for years. That doesn't count. Yes, it does. Fine. That one goes both ways, though. Anything else I don't know? Kirishima had to pause at the question. Did he have any other secrets from Bakugou? Nothing came to mind. He couldn't remember ever keeping anything from him, at least not since... Oh. Okay, but don't be mad, Kirishima started, giving Bakugou his most innocent smile. Oh fuck, what did you do? Bakugou groaned. I I'm actually the one that lost your All Might shirt, the one that you accused Midoriya of stealing back in second year. Kirishima flinched, waiting for an explosion straight to the face. Bakugou just blinked at him, as if processing the information, opening his mouth before snapping it closed. His face was unreadable, as if trying to decide how to react. Please say something, Kirishima begged. I should be mad. It was a limited edition. But then again, Deku ended up getting me another one out of guilt. Turns out he had taken some of my merch. Then again, who fucking cares about Deku? Which makes it a bit funny. But why the fuck did you have my All Might shirt? Bakugou asked. Thought you knew everything about me, Kirishima tried as a distraction, giving his partner his best smile. Shitty hair. Answer the question, Bakugou told him, pulling at their joint hands. Fine, but it's embarrassing, Kirishima said with a sigh. You left it in my room one day, and I took it home with me over break. After that, I don't know where it went. Why did you take my shirt home? Bakugou asked with a raised eyebrow, fighting a smile. Kirishima groaned as he let his head fall back. Please don't make me say it. Bakugou didn't even flinch, just waiting for Kirishima's confession patiently. Fine, I took it because it smelled like you and I liked sleeping in it. Happy now? Kirishima said as he pulled his hand away from Bakugou, burying his face in his hands to hide his blushing face. He had not planned on admitting his stupid lovesick actions from years ago tonight. Bakugou let out a laugh. That's fucking hilarious. Kinda cute too, but mostly fucking hilarious. No, it's embarrassing, Kirishima huffed. Hey, love, I've done stupid shit too, Bakugou assured. Not that stupid, but still pretty fucking stupid. Oh, that makes me feel so much better, Kirishima deadpanned with an eye roll. Just don't let Deku find out. He will go off on me, Bakugou said with a shrug. You need to tell me something stupid you did now, Kirishima huffed. Why would I do that? Because it's only fair. Whatever gave you the impression that I give a fuck about being fair? Bakugou smirked. Kirishima rolled his eyes, but he couldn't help but smile at his partner. Kinda sucks that I can't steal your shirts anymore, though, he said with a playful sigh. It ain't my fucking fault you ended up being built like a tank, Bakugou shrugged. Don't act like you don't like it. I'm not, Bakugou chuckled. Before they continued, the door to the room slid open and a waitress walked in. She had a polite smile, but didn't say much as she placed 2 glasses of wine in front of them and 2 glasses of water. She promised to be back with their first course soon before making her way out of the room. Did you pay them extra to not talk to us? Kirishima asked with a raised eyebrow. Bakugou shrugged. I know what you like to eat, and I didn't want to get interrupted. Kirishima couldn't help but smile. He couldn't wait to see what his partner had prepared for them. Time passes. The first course was rib bites, followed by an orange-looking soup that Kirishima hadn't known the name for, but had been delicious. They had an easy conversation as they ate, the sunset view making it feel a bit more intimate and romantic. At some point, they ended up moving their chairs closer together. It didn't matter since no one else was around. They didn't want the table between them, after all. Kirishima was hearing Bakugou talk about his mission abroad, the one that had gone on before the raid. It felt like a lifetime ago, but it had only been a little over a month. It had always been one of his favorite things, watching Bakugou as he went into detail about his missions and fights. The way he grinned and yelled as if he was back in that moment. The proud look in his eyes when he recounted his victories was beautiful. There was no other way to describe it. Kirishima leaned over to place a light kiss on Bakugou's cheek, making the blonde turn to him with a smile, but without stopping his story. Kirishima couldn't stop thinking about how lucky he was. Not that long ago, he barely got to see his best friend, and when he did, he was walking on eggshells most of the time, trying to hide just how much he wanted to be around him, trying to hide how he felt. Now they were living together with a son and on their first date. It sounded like a bad joke to put it in that order, but they had never been the most typical when it came to anything. Kirishima couldn't help but feel as if the universe had always known that this was where they were heading. It was at that moment that the waitress walked in once more, setting down a plate with a steak, mashed potatoes, and mixed vegetables in front of them. She removed the discarded plates before heading out once more. "How am I doing so far with the food?" Bakugou asked. "It's amazing, sweetheart. Thank you," Kirishima told him, not wasting any time and kissing his partner. A slow kiss that made them both melt just a little, and Kirishima hoped that it showed just how much this all meant to him. "Need to take you out more often if that's your response," Bakugou whispered, just a fraction of an inch from Kirishima's lips. "Gotta let me take you out. Let me impress you for once," Kirishima said before closing the distance between them once more. "You say that as if you don't take my fucking breath away every day," Bakugou mumbled against his lips. I could probably do more than that," Kirishima grinned. "Oh yeah? I would like to see that." They kissed a bit more before Bakugou pulled away, mumbling about how their food was getting cold. Kirishima kissed him once more anyway, because he got to do that now. He got to kiss the man he loved, and he was never going to stop. Time passes. The first time Kirishima saw Bakugou was during the UA entrance exam. He was pretty sure Bakugou didn't notice him. He would be surprised if Bakugou had noticed anyone that day. It was incredible how the blonde boy was the same age as him and was able to take out all of the robots that came their way, making it seem so effortless the whole time. It was an incredible sight. He hadn't been able to get the boy with the blonde hair, red eyes, and explosion quirk out of his head from that moment. He knew that the boy had gotten into UA. He was sure of it. And when he got his own acceptance announcement, he could only hope they would end up being in the same class. It wasn't love at first sight. He would always be the first to admit that. It was admiration, just that at first, and wanting to prove to himself that he could keep up with the blonde. Coming in second place right under him was a good start, after all. With time, they became friends, and before he knew it, he was crushing hard on the blonde. Not only for what he saw that first day during the entrance exam, but from watching him grow and change slowly into a better version of himself. He wasn't sure when he fell in love, and every time he tried to pinpoint it, he came up with a different answer. He knew the moment he realized it, when it hit him full force, that it wasn't just a crush. They had been studying in his room, Bakugou explaining to him something or another for one of their upcoming tests. They had been kicked out of a library and a diner, leaving them no other option but heading to his place to study. It didn't take long for Kirishima to realize that he was more focused on Bakugou's lips than the words coming out of them. It happened all at once, when Bakugou let out an explosion against his head, trying to make him focus. Kirishima laughed and saw Bakugou's lips turn up just slightly. He loved him. He loved the boy sitting next to him on his bedroom floor. Time passes. "So, should we start telling people?" Kirishima asked. Dessert had just been placed in front of them, a slice of cheesecake with chocolate drizzle. "Telling them about us?" Bakugou asked as he took a bite of his cheesecake. "Yeah," Kirishima said. "We already told Mina and Sero. Maybe we should start telling the others as well." "Sounds like a plan," Bakugou agreed. "But don't tell Deku." "Why aren't we telling him?" "Because he gave me a whole fucking speech a couple days ago, lecturing me about how I should confess to you." Bakugou rolled his eyes. "Fucker needs to learn to stay out of my shit." Kirishima laughed. So, you are mad at him for telling you to confess to me after we already started dating and we didn't tell him about it.
It's fucking annoying.
Bakugou rolled his eyes. All right, I'll let you decide when we tell him.
I knew I loved you for a reason.
Bakugou grinned, kissing Kirishima's cheek. There's a but to this, sweetheart, Kirishima chuckled. You can't keep others from telling him.
I'll take it.
No threatening everyone else to keep them quiet either.
You're no fucking fun.
You really think that? Kirishima raised an eyebrow as a challenge. Bakugou paused for a second.
Okay, fine, I don't.
Kirishima smiled. I love you.
Eat your damn cake.
Bakugou huffed before adding,
I love you too.
Time passes. They walked out to the car with Kirishima's arm over Bakugou's shoulders. Any other plans for tonight? Kirishima asked.
We only have half an hour before we have to pick up Akio,
Bakugou lamented. He wanted to see his kid, but he wanted more time alone with his partner. Who knew when they would be able to do something like this again? Doesn't mean we can't continue this date once we get back home, Kirishima told him.
Then we better hurry up and get the gremlin.
The blonde grinned. The drive to Aizawa's wasn't too long, and they arrived right before 11 as promised. Eri opened the door with a smile. Hi, Akio is sleeping, so be very quiet.
Thanks for watching him,
Kirishima told her in a whisper.
We'll leave right away.
Good idea, Eri told him. Dad is asleep too, and I don't think he would appreciate being woken up.
We know that's a bad idea, Bakugou snorted. Thanks for watching the kid,
he added as he pulled an envelope from inside of his suit jacket and handed it over to Eri. Anytime, as I've said. Eri smiled as she led them to where Akio was. He was fast asleep on the sofa with pillows around him to make sure he didn't fall. Bakugou picked him up carefully. Akio let out a soft sigh as he leaned against Bakugou.
Hey, gremlin,
he whispered as he kissed the top of Akio's head. Let's get going, Kirishima told him, already holding Akio's things.
Thanks, Eri,
Bakugou whispered. Drive safe, Eri told them as she waved goodbye, ready to head to bed herself. Time passes. Akio was placed in his crib as soon as they arrived home. He hadn't woken up the whole ride home. Bakugou made sure to get the baby monitor on their way out of the room. Kirishima was right behind him as they made their way to their own room.
So, what did you think of our first date?
Bakugou asked as he took off his suit jacket, laying it out on his desk chair. It was amazing. Thank you for planning this for us, Kirishima said, wrapping his arms around Bakugou's waist, a kiss against the blonde's neck.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, love,
Bakugou told him, leaning his head to the side to allow Kirishima better access to his neck. Night isn't over yet, the redhead mumbled against Bakugou's neck.
We have to change. We have work in the morning.
Thought you were your own boss, Katsuki. Kirishima chuckled, his hands finding their way under Bakugou's shirt.
Damn right I am.
Then let's stay up a little bit longer. Kirishima turned Bakugou around by the waist, and the blonde wasted no time, wrapping his arms around Kirishima's neck and pulling him down until their lips crashed against each other. A gasp left his mouth, but it was quickly swallowed by his partner. They moved blindly towards the bed, tossing pieces of clothing as they went, both too occupied with each other as hands explored and lips tasted skin that was once out of reach. Desperate moans and whispering each other's names between kisses as they learned more about each other, ending up tangled together, the perfect ending to a perfect date. Chapter 24. Mission Start. Bakugou led the way to his agency, Kirishima right behind him. They had their first meeting with the heroes they had recruited to work on finding the rest of the villains involved in Akio's creation. It was dangerous to let the villains with plans use hero DNA to create their ideal villains. After all, they didn't know if they had anyone else that could create another child. Even more when those people out there knew about the existence of Akio. It was always in the back of their mind that they could try to get Akio since they lost the person that was doing most of the work for them. At least they hoped that was true. Bakugou and Kirishima had dropped off Akio at daycare that morning together, kissing their son goodbye, knowing that they were trying to keep him safe with what they were doing. Hoping that they could keep the whole thing quiet to not scare the villains into doing anything drastic before they were caught. Bakugou asked his receptionist if anyone they were waiting for had arrived yet, and she confirmed some people had, giving him the list of heroes they were expecting. The ones already marked off. Kirishima watched as Bakugou read over the list, asking a couple of questions and giving instructions on how the day would go, who could interrupt, and what type of emergencies he would need to be informed of immediately. A small smile pulled at Kirishima's lips. That was his partner, and he still had a hard time believing it, manly as ever, with a hickey barely visible on the side of his neck. His shirt collar hid most of it, but a hint of purple poked out. Bakugou had yelled at him over it that morning, but he couldn't help but feel a bit smug that he had been the one to leave it there. Who else got to do that to Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite?
Let's go, Red.
Bakugou broke Kirishima from his thoughts, gesturing with his head towards a hallway. Who's here already? The redhead asked as he matched his steps to Bakugou's.
Fat Gum, Deku, Icy Hot, Tape Face, Raccoon Eyes, and also eye bags.
Bakugou grumbles as they make their way to the meeting room. Not everyone is coming today, right? Kirishima tries to confirm. They had a large group of heroes sign up for the mission, mostly friends, but most of them were listed as a backup or reinforcement for now. For now, it was just the people that would be involved in the interrogations and tracking down the villains. Everyone else would be on standby till they had all the information that they needed to be sorted.
We're just missing Cheeks,
Bakugou told him as they turned the corner. Sounds good, Kirishima said as he wrapped his arms around his partner's shoulders.
We have a lot to do, Red,
Bakugou hummed. Kirishima could see the way his eyes were already far away, trying to piece together the information they had and how to present it to everyone. We got this, Kirishima told him, pulling him a bit closer. What's the plan for today?
Making sure everyone is on the same page and getting started on interrogations. We have no time to waste.
Time passes. Bakugou walked into the conference room with Kirishima right behind him. The others were already sitting around the room. Fat Gum was talking to Sero and Ashido in one of the corners. Deku was already surrounded by a mess of papers, mumbling to himself as he went over what Bakugou assumed were the notes they had been passing back and forth on the case. Todoroki sitting next to him, talking to Shinso in a hushed voice to not interrupt Deku.
All right, let's get this fucking started,
Bakugou said as he closed the door after Kirishima walked in. Wait, what about Uraraka? Deku asked, looking up from his papers.
She's on her way.
Bakugou rolled his eyes. Kirishima went to find his seat at the table, and so did the others who were still standing. Bakugou let out a sigh as he started setting up as the others exchanged quick greetings. Where's Akio? Ashido asked after a while. Daycare, Kirishima told her. Oh, I wanted to see him. She pouted slightly. Mi cielo, they can't bring him to work, Saru told her with a quick smile.
And he can't look at Deku's ugly face without crying, so that's another reason he can't be here,
Bakugou added. Kachan! Deku exclaimed. You know that he just doesn't know me that well yet.
Sure, go with that,
Bakugou shrugged. Before anyone else could say anything, the door swung open. Sorry I'm late. I got caught catching a villain on my way here, Uraraka said as she rushed in, closing the door behind her.
All right, that's everyone,
Bakugou declared.
Now, let's get started.
The meeting started simple. Bakugou started presenting the information they had and how they had narrowed down the list of hospitals that may have been involved with the experiments. Deku went on a bit of an information dump on what hospitals were on the list and different ways that they could narrow down the list further now that they had more people to help out. Then they moved on to interrogations. The Hero Commission had already done a lot of the questioning on everyone they arrested. Most of them didn't even know that there had been an infant, let alone multiple infants at some point, and were mostly left in the dark. The one person that refused to talk was the woman that had been with Akio at the time of the raid. Due to her having such a unique quirk, they were able to find out who she was, but even then, she had not said a word. She would just throw insults at whoever tried talking to her. Other than that, she was silent, even around other prisoners. "We have to start with her. This is Kazuko Mazu," Sero said, what they were all thinking. "She is the one that seemed to be in charge of the whole operation, but she couldn't have done this alone." "That's why we need to get as much information from her as possible," Deku agreed. "All we have is her basic information, places she worked. She suddenly dropped off from any official records 5 years ago."
That's when the planning for the experiment started, or at least that's how far back the notes we found started, Bakugou added. "This is about making sure that this is not repeated as much as making sure all of these fuckers involved end up behind bars." "So you want me to go in there and brainwash her into talking?" Shinso added, already sounding tired of the whole ordeal. "You would be the last resort," Bakugou explained. "If she finds out what we are using your quirk for, she may not speak to anyone at all," Kirishima explained, "and we need her to talk." "Then do we have clearance to start interrogations?" Ashido asked. "Yes, we can start as of today if we want to," Bakugou told her with a nod. "The only problem would be that we need to divide ourselves to make sure that some of us can look into the hospitals."
"I'll start on that," Uraraka volunteered. "I'll help as well," Fat Gum offered. "I have some connections in some of the hospitals on the list, which would make it easier to look into them without raising any red flags." "In that case, I'll join you," Deku offered. "There are still a lot of notes to go through. I'm working my way from start to finish, and the more I read, the more specific it gets about what they needed and what they used."
"All right," Bakugou agreed. "That means Ashido, Uraraka, Deku, and Fat Gum will be working to find the hospital the villains used. Meanwhile, Sero, Shinso, Todoroki, Kirishima, and I will be working on interrogations not only from Kazuko, but from other villains that were captured." "Does that mean that we are starting those today?" Todoroki asked with a half-raised hand. "Of course we're fucking starting today, half and half. We can't waste any more damn time,"
Bakugou told him, already annoyed. "Then are we going to mention Akio at all during the interrogation with her?" Bakugou took a pause. They shouldn't use their son as a bargaining chip, especially not when it came to the woman that had wanted to kill him. Not only that, she may still want to recover him if presented with a chance, and the less she knew about Akio, the better. "No one will mention Akio to her," Kirishima told them before Bakugou could speak. "Don't say his name in front of her, or even bring him up unless she does first."
"Yes, exactly,"
Bakugou backed up his partner.
"They don't have access to the news inside the HC holding cells, so she may not even be aware that Akio is with us, and we want to keep it that way."
"Understood," Todoroki said with a nod, and everyone showed some form of agreement.
"Then it's agreed," Bakugou told them. "Let's get fucking started."
Time passes. Kirishima let out a groan and ran a hand through his hair in frustration. It had been a couple hours since they finished their meeting, and now he was in a room with Sero, Shinso, Todoroki, and Bakugou, trying to form an interrogation plan. Everything was going well. It was just annoying having to pretend as if he wasn't dating Bakugou. They hadn't gotten around to telling the others about their change in relationship after all, and since Bakugou wanted to keep Midoriya in the dark until further notice, that meant he had to control himself in front of Todoroki as well.
Hey, Red, Bakugou called out from nearby. You okay?
Yeah, I'm completely fine, Kirishima said. Just getting hungry, I guess. He shrugged before stretching. Food sounds good, Sarah chimed in. Maybe we can go out to lunch and then come back to this after? Go to the HC afterwards as well as we planned? That sounds good, Todoroki said, already standing up. I'm going to find Izuku. Before anyone could say anything, Todoroki was out the door.
That icy hot is so fucking whipped,
Bakugou huffed with an eye roll. As if you aren't any different, Sero chuckled, earning himself a glare.
You're a fucking simp. You have no place to talk, tape face.
Oh, I'm the simp? Sero challenged. I think I saw enough the other day to know who the real simp is.
I feel like I'm missing something here.
Shinso chimed in with a raised eyebrow. Kirishima couldn't help but let out a laugh as Bakugou suddenly realized that Shinso was still in the room before turning to glare at Sero.
Fucking just tell him already,
Bakugou grumbled as he let himself sink into his chair in frustration. No, I think you should say it. I'm not the one involved in that argument. Kirishima smirked as Bakugou groaned.
Fuck, fine.
Bakugou let out a sigh.
Eijirou and I are together. As in, for the media or for real?
Shinso asked with a raised eyebrow.
For real,
Bakugou huffed.
Just don't tell half and half.
Congrats, Shinso said, a bit confused. Why aren't you telling Todoroki? Bakugou doesn't want Midoriya to know that we're dating, Kirishima answered. Something about him nagging about confessing to me. Shinso let out a frustrated sigh.
Would it be easier for you to just tell them and the nagging would stop?
I thought you knew better than to apply logic to a Bakugou Midoriya argument, Sero chuckled.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm guessing don't tell Denki,
Shinso said as he got out of his seat and stretched.
Unless he's going to keep his damn mouth shut,
Bakugou told him.
So don't tell him.
Shinso nodded. We'll tell him soon, Kirishima assured, getting a glare from Bakugou.
I'm just glad the mystery of the hickey has been solved,
Shinso commented before walking out of the room, making Sero bark out a laugh as Bakugou's face turned red. Kirishima snickered, making his way over to his partner, kissing his cheek to keep him calm.
You could have fucking told me,
Bakugou mumbled, but kissed Kirishima before pulling away. Let's go get some lunch, Kirishima offered.
Fine, but you're paying.
Bakugou smiled as he got up. Am I invited? Sero asked with an excited gasp.
Fuck off.
Bakugou flipped him off as he stood up, grabbing Kirishima to pull him along. Kirishima just laughed as he followed. Time passes. Lunch turned into a group event shortly after, to Bakugou's dismay. They placed a group order and took over a conference room. Midoriya and Todoroki excused themselves, claiming to have already had their own plans for lunch. It didn't take long for Uraraka to find out about Bakugou and Kirishima dating. Why didn't you tell me? She exclaimed, punching Bakugou's arm to mark every word.
Fucking shit, what the fuck are you hitting me for?
Bakugou grumbled, moving away slightly, which meant being closer to Kirishima anyways. Oh, don't worry, Ochako, they didn't tell anyone. They're just starting to tell people, Ashido said with an eye roll before she took a bite of her food.
That excludes Midoriya,
Shinso added, his eyes focused on the super dark iced coffee in front of him.
Our news, we decide who fucking knows.
Bakugou huffed.
Do as you like,
Shinso shrugged. The conversation carried on naturally, Kirishima and Fandom talking about a case they had just closed out. Bakugou couldn't help but watch Kirishima. His partner was radiant, like always, but knowing that he could be so open about his affection made him smile just a little. Do I have something on my face? Kirishima leaned close to Bakugou to ask, a teasing smile on his lips.
No, I just like looking at your stupid face,
Bakugou told him. Such a romantic, Kirishima chuckled.
Damn right I am.
Bakugou grinned, but before he could pull Kirishima close, he got hit by a french fry.
The fuck?
He turned to glare in the direction it had come from. Stop it. Next time I'll throw water at you two. Sero threatened, but he was holding back a laugh. You know, I will not stop him from killing you one of these days, Kirishima said, his tone full of annoyance. I think that would be the day the whole world would explode. He would go after everyone, Uaraka whispered.
That would be a fun day,
Bakugou mused. Would also make you a villain, Shinso pointed out as he took a bite of his food.
That is the only downside,
Bakugou grumbled. I don't feel safe here anymore, Ashido said before letting out a nervous chuckle. Time passes. Bakugou pulled Kirishima into his office before they had to get back from lunch. As soon as the door closed behind them, he was crushing their lips together, practically melting into his partner.
Fuck, been wanting to do that, fucking noisy bastards,
Bakugou said as he pulled away just slightly. Would think you were tired of me already after last night, Kirishima joked as he gave his partner a quick peck.
Never,
Bakugou told him before kissing him again. Sweetheart, we have to get going, Kirishima reminded him.
Fine, but I'm punching that bitch in the face when I see her,
Bakugou mumbled. You can't do that. But I want a couple of hits in too, Kirishima told him, placing his hand on the side of Bakugou's face. They had a plan. They had everything ready for what they needed to do. They just hoped that they could guarantee Akio's safety once and for all. All right, friends, I hope that you enjoyed these 2 chapters. Not only do I love that we got the date chapter in here, but I love that we got like a flashback of Kirishima and Bakugou at the entrance exam, because that interaction between the two of them, it felt so canon to me when I was reading this for the first time. Just that, like, it didn't start out as love for Kirishima, it started out as admiration, and that just feels so honestly true to how their relationship would be if it was a real thing. So I just love that in these 2 chapters. It does make me a little sad that we're getting to the end of this one again. I know we still have like quite a bit left, but you know, I know that it's winding down, and that makes me a bit sad. But I am so glad to be sharing these chapters and this fic with you. So I hope that you will come back and join me next time for the next piece of Codominance by Curlystar09. The next chapters will be 25 and 26. See you next time.